I have terrible news. The crabs, they've come down with crab sickness. It's a deadly disease that is fatally lethal to crabs, and it's only native to the remote desert island that I moved to in the wake of my epic departure from game development. What am I going to do? I can't buy new crabs. They're just going to succumb to the same sickness. I don't even know if I can heal these crabs. I mean, what do I look like, a scientist? No way. There's only one thing left to do. I've got to give these crabs one hell of a time in their last days. I've got to return to my darkened past. I've got to make one last video game that'll send them off the right way and make their last moments count. Well, actually, it might be several video games, or maybe none. I don't know, I mean, they're crabs, what do they care? Anyway, here's a little bit of information about what's been going on in the past month or so. So I've returned to ULTRAFUN for a little bit. I had an idea to expand the endgame. I'm taking it quite easy because the game is, well, precarious, and I'm already quite happy with the release version. On that note, I have updated the release version quite recently to include a few quality of life changes, so you should go check that out. The idea that I had is to add a trading faction at the very end to help get you out of debt. If you haven't played this far into the game, well, spoiler alert, but the game has been out for a while now, you should know that you end up totally in debt because you have to pay Cubert's salary, and then the developer quits the game. Of course, Ortail, being a little entrepreneurial, comes to visit, and Ortail says, "What? Well, let me take over and we'll start selling things. We'll recapitulate the old Kingdom of Factions trading prowess. We've already got all the items, we just need to get them into the hands of the customers." I think as an idea, it makes sense, and it sounds pretty cool. I mean, it does give me something to do with all of these items once you've collected them. Really, I'm working out how to get it to the minimum viable product. I think one of the things I really like about the game as it is, although it doesn't really have a point, is that it's very simple, and it has this kind of organic and emergent texture to it. If I overcomplicate things from the start, it's just going to give, like, real whiplash to the experience. I mean, of course, I'd like the option to give this some complexity, but it's important to keep it simple. Therefore, I'm just not using Ortail for anything at all. In theory, and when I fix all the bugs, it's going to work like this. You spawn an altar, which is like the trading post for holding an item up for auction. It only lasts for a little while, and then traders will approach the altar and start making bids. When the auction expires, the item will go to the trader with the highest bid, you get paid, and then they will walk off happily. Of course, it doesn't actually work, and it's only half implemented, but that's the idea. I briefly considered having the bids continue indefinitely, and they just kind of slow down on this logarithmic curve, and the altars never expire, and then Ortail is kind of the manager, so you'd have to click on Ortail and accept a bid that way. I mean, I don't mind the idea that Ortail has special deciding powers over aspects of the trading, because it is Ortail's idea. But I don't want to make it necessary for the player to have to dig through menus right from the start of the game. I think it is a bit better that the player can, or the traders can just deal with the altars by themselves. The only thing the player has to do then is place items on the altars and wait. In fact, even the dialogue for selecting items is going to be reworked a bit because it's the old Voidling Assault Collection screen, which loyal fans will know is crazy laggy, and really I would rather it be a bit more restricted anyway. There's a bit sort of there's excessive choices when you're in a list of 1,000 apparently equivalent things. I've also had some ideas for developing the trader entities themselves, because I think that's probably, well, just where the game comes through best. Right now they're just reskinned faction Kyzdlings, so they will start getting talkative when they're bored, and they'll pretty much do all the same things, except you can't click on them. I thought about giving the traders some kind of affiliations on their own, perhaps with certain preferences to certain kinds of items. maybe I should even take a page from that mobile game, Animal Restaurant, and I should focus on the advertising aspect. If you don't know, in that game, you don't get any customers, I think, until you click the advertisement button, and you can sort of get different levels of advertising to attract more wealthy customers. I mean, when you think about it, nobody is going to know that a super cool trading outpost exists somewhere in the middle of a dark void if they're not somehow beaming out advertisements. I mean, it sounds like there's a few ways to go with that. Either simple ideas, like just clicking a button repeatedly, or complicated ideas. Either way, I might even find a way to apply some kind of gameplay mechanics to Ortail, which I would be glad to do, because Ortail has been totally useless in this game for literally years. Anyway, as I said, I recently published a pretty good update to Voidling Assault recently. It adds a few things like a grid to the background, a minimap, and some of the text is edited and refined, and there's less empty space in the dialogue. It's also been rebalanced, so it shouldn't feel so grindy, especially at the beginning. I've also fixed the explosive voidlings spawn rules. They no longer just sort of appear on top of you. So it's a lot better. If you've been putting off actually playing the game, I'd say pretty much now is the right time to give it a try. Anyway, aside from ULTRAFUN, I've kind of been working on that chess game too. But really, it's just not doing it for me. I mean, I'm kind of out of ideas. It's a decent prototype, but it's just becoming abandonware on my hard drive. If anyone is interested in giving me ideas for it, please let me know. I mean, I'm sure I'll be able to develop it into something eventually. I mean, it sounds like a long time, but it's only been in development for maybe a year and a half. And ULTRAFUN was looking even rougher than this at this stage in development, I think. In fact, I think I scrapped almost everything I made in the first couple of years for ULTRAFUN. So it is possible. It's completely possible. But it's slow, and I still need to actually do it. I need to work out what's actually fun about this game, because something about playing a version of chess where you don't get to control the pieces just doesn't make any sense. I thought about putting more effort into the non-combat farming aspects, but I think that combat is still essential to some degree. It is maybe the main thing about chess. One of the advantages of not having to control the pieces, I thought, is that you could just play 1,000 games at once and get the rewards of all of them. In that way, it's kind of chess at scale. I mean, it's bizarro chess as well, but it's chess that is sped up, and it rewards a different kind of player than the one who's actually interested in playing chess. I'd say it's rewarding the one who's leveling up and getting elo and getting skills. Essentially, I'm trying to turn this into an incremental game. I mean, it doesn't sound so bad as an incremental game, but for whatever reason, although I have played a gazillion incremental games, I've never been able to actually make one. For some reason, I just haven't been able to hold that structure in my head, even though you'd think it just looks so easy. Again, I am totally soliciting advice here. Please let me know if you have any ideas that can help, or resources that might be worth looking into. I mean, come on, I made loads of tutorials for you guys. You gotta start teaching me too, it's only fair. So with those two games, I've got a pretty full plate of work. As I said before, I'm not able to dedicate as much time to them as I'd like, but to be honest, actually putting ideas into the engine is only a tiny fraction of the time spent developing games. Most of it for me is internal. I suppose I'm open to other game ideas too, but I mean, I am loyal. I'm committed to these two. In fact, mostly the chess game, which I still haven't cracked yet. I mean, ULTRAFUN too, but I've already been gnawing away at that one for years. I expect it could be another year or two before the trading section of ULTRAFUN starts making sense. Possibly, I think Squid Chess could even get somewhere this year if I can come up with a radical transformation for how that game works. Anyway, never give up. If you're a game developer or even any other person who's doing anything, and if you're watching this video, we are all in this together. Good luck, and thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more updates on these two things and maybe something else. I'm sure we will get somewhere someday. Goodbye.